Well, let's get started with the Nigerian News Direct. Tinubu deserves credit for economic reforms. That's according to the DG of the World Trade Organization and former Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Flags internet gap as threat to Nigeria's share in the 4.25 trillion naira digital trade. Mr. Karaga, she's made comments around policies in the right direction. The government has said necessary pain for future gain, but she's also highlighted the gaps and said something has to be done so that the poor will be allowed to breathe. What do you make of it?
Well, I followed what happened yesterday when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala visited the presidential villa, specifically visiting Mr. President. Well, it's a big one for the administration to have the World Trade, that is the chief of the World Trade Organization. Incidentally, she's a Nigerian, and we all know she's economically cerebral. She was the Minister of Finance and the coordinating Minister of the Economy under former President Goodluck Jonathan, and we saw what happened, really. The economy stabilized massively, and I think also under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, when Nigeria was able to pay off all her debts. So coming at this time that there's a whole lot of conversation about the performance of the economy under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think most Nigerians, the debate is still on, really. It's a running story as I will look at it, but she hit the nail on the head, basically, when, one, she gave kudos to the administration for stabilizing the value of the naira against the dollar, and of course also taking some very bold policies, whether in terms of taking out the subsidy and then the effect that it is having. And then, of course, she also reminded the administration about the need, to provide necessary safety nets, necessary social security safety net in terms of taking more Nigerians out of poverty. I think that is the crux of the economy debate. But overall, the macroeconomic policies of the President Bola Tinubu appears to be gaining some traction. For now, it has not trickled down, it has not percolated down to majority of Nigerians. That is where the problem is. I think that is what Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is actually talking about. She gave kudos to the administration that the policies are on the right track, but that the policy now at this point needs to veer towards the masses to take them out of the current economic crunch. Don't forget that millions of Nigerians are multidimensionally very poor, according to UN figures, whether it is World Bank or the IMF, poverty ravaging most Nigerians. And that is where many Nigerians also disagree with this administration, that the policies may be working for the elites, but for the common people, is it really working? You look at food prices, yes, that is coming down, because at some point it was almost unbearable. It was hitting hard on many homes in Nigeria, but the food prices are coming down. The critical issues that are actually affecting Nigeria economically is the price of fuel and electricity. That one is price of fuel, price of electricity, and insecurity. People are not able to go to their farms. Once the government is able to look at these three issues, then I think the government will be moving in the right direction.
So let's go to the Guardian newspaper, which takes a detour from the visit of the Director General yesterday and focuses on politics ahead of Saturday's by-election. Parties jostle for 16 seats as crucial by-elections set stage for 2027. And we'll see the actors there, from the political parties to the electoral umpire itself. So, Mr. Akiria, I wonder what your projections are, because these are crucial elections, not just for projections about the possibility of the ruling party tilting the balance in party formation in the upper chamber, but also about this being a test for the 2027 elections. What do you see happening after Saturday and its implications?
Well, apparently that, for me, that will look like a referendum. You know, the Saturday elections will look like a referendum to me, whether Nigerians still believe in the ruling party or not. That of Anambra State is crucial, you know, for the Senate position. When the election comes, we wait and see the outcome. But basically, I think the ruling party will be a bit jittery at this point, because most Nigerians are questioning their policies. As I mentioned earlier, policies around the economic issues, around poverty, around insecurity. There's insecurity across regions in the country, whether it is northwest, northeast, north central, southeast. The only two regions that having some semblance of peace is the south-south, some parts of the south-south, and of course the southwest, where you have the Amotekun, you know, that has been able to stabilize security in the southwest. So these are the issues that I'm sure that will come to play. Again, many Nigerians do not really vote according to issues. They vote more on sentiments about who is running the political parties, and sometimes even monetary influences on election day. The outcome of the Saturday election is clearly going to be a pointer to the way that the 2027 general elections will run. But I also see the ruling party gaining some traction here. Because if you look at the other party, whether it is Labour Party, the ADC is here to take off. The PDP is there. The PDP has been in disarray for a while. They are just rebuilding. So the Labour Party and the PDP that is supposed to put us some challenge, I doubt if they are really ready for the election. So that gives some advantage to the ruling party. But we'll see how it goes.
Quite an interesting perspective. But just to stay on that for just a moment, will this election on Saturday, which is tomorrow, be a fair test of each party's strength in that regard, given what is playing out? Isn't it predictable what will happen? So look at what the ADC is dealing with, which is a new baby in the room. The PDP just kind of got his acts in order, but they are not out of the waters. We can tell everybody that for free, because we still have members that are armed force politicians who are playing two games. Some are supporting PDP. They are members of PDP, but they are supporting APC. They are members of PDP, they are supporting ADC. Labour Party is divided also in that direction. There's, I don't even know, maybe even the worst, because there's a caretaker committee, there is a Abure-led committee, led leadership. So isn't this as predictable as possible? Let's look at the two senatorial districts, Anambra South, God rest his soul, Ifeanyi Uba's seats that will be contested for. Abga leads that state. APC occupied that seat last because he left YPP for that seat. So YPP is trying to have his best to fight to get back his seat from their member who defected. Let's go to Edo Central, which is where the governor resigned from to become governor. The PDP in Edo State, are they formidable enough? Because even among the PDP in Edo State, there's the amorphous relationship. Danobi is a friend to Nyesom Wike, who is a supporter of the president. I can go on and on with my analytics. So isn't this easy to predict?
Well, it might appear easy to predict, but all of this is rooted in the lack of ideological politics in Nigeria. The political elites they are not running for elections because they believe in any ideology. They believe in winning elections so that they can elevate the quality of life of Nigerians. For me, basically, I think that politicians in Nigeria just want to run elections to benefit themselves and maybe their cronies and acolytes. I have not seen that percolated down significantly. But specifically to Anambra State, if you day before yesterday, the governor endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is in a different party, the ruling All Progressives Congress. He is in Abga, And that is what is happening across states in the country, where the opposition is even endorsing the president rather than trying to strengthen their party and feed candidates to challenge the ruling party. So with that, it becomes a bit predictable that the APC will have a feed day. In those states, Monday Okpebholo, the governor of the state, is in the APC, is in the ruling party, but the candidate that lost, the PDP candidate that lost to him, I saw him campaign sometimes last week and was telling Edo people to reclaim their mandate by, voting for the senatorial candidate of the PDP.
Yes, my apologies because of time, and so that we also avoid mentioning parties because against the rule of elections. But because of time as well, we need to race. Let's look at the New Telegraph. New Telegraph. I think we've already explored the issue around what Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said. Let's get to the very top above the nameplate. GDP combined fiscal balance of states up 3% to 7.1 trillion naira. Combined fiscal balance of states up 3% to 7.1 trillion naira. So I think the writer there says targeted vulnerable Nigerians being rich, economy on positive trajectory. What do you make of this? Because when we look at numbers and numbers and numbers, in terms of revenue, we can see that there's increased revenue across the state. I'm just looking at this broadly beyond what the headline says. But impact-based spending is what is always the issue, because the president has even told the governors, now you have more money. What are the grassroots? For him, because he feels that if money was your excuse, at least in Naira terms, I've done my bit to at least increase your number. We're doing record high numbers in terms of Naira terms. But what are these governors, these subnational leaders spending the money on?
I think that is where the debate should be. The agenda-setting function of the media has to focus on the subnational. For some time, the pressure has been on the federal government, but the president himself is also deflecting the pressure to the states. Yes, I do know that some states are doing very well with the funds that they are getting from the federation account. Enugu State, the Nigerian Guild of Editors had this conference in Enugu State recently, and you do not, this is not about politics, it's about really what you see on the ground. You could see clear performance, you could see clear deliverables, whether in terms of road infrastructure, security, where the governor there has built a security surveillance center, in the education sector and health sector. Some of the states are doing very well. In Delta State, for the very first time, you see Julius Berger, which is one of the giants in the construction industry, building roads that could last for 50 to 100 years to come, and people are celebrating. Also in the health and the education sector, the governors there is doing very well. In Kaduna State, if you go in there, you see the governors also doing very, very well. So across the country, you could pick some governors that are showing evidence of what they're doing with their money. But some others are basically not doing anything. And so that is where the concern is. And the president is sounding the alarm there. And I think that more Nigerians in those states, wherever you are, you should begin to hold your governor, your state governor accountable, including even the senators, who they themselves are also executing projects through constituency allowances, constituency funds that are given to them. So it is time to begin to focus on our communities and the local environment and the kind of resources that comes in and what they are used for. That's where the focus should not be.
Well, thank you so much for bringing your perspective to the big conversations as far as the headlines are concerned. Mr. Ego Akeraga is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, joining us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will get to that conversation around what played out in an area called Eneka in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where we saw children being whipped, being flogged, and when investigations were done, well, they said it's a spiritual exercise. Well, the police has actually arrested the pastor who said he was led by the Spirit to do so. Anyway, the twist to that conversation is the fact that when he was arrested and news filtered on, the parents of those children showed up at the police station to say, he has our consent. So he didn't commit any crime. So what will the state do in that kind of situation? We'll get to talk with NAPTIP in just a moment. Stay with us.